What brought you to the AI Profit Boardroom, into this coaching call?
A lot of videos, YouTube videos from Julian.
Yeah, that's how we start.
Yeah.
But then, what personally for you interested you in this? What are you trying to get out of this? Do you have a project you're working on or something like that?
I'm working as a business coach and an AI coach, and
Okay.
I have just one client, quite interesting Danish company, and I had one day with them. They were very excited, and I showed them the foundations of ChatGPT and Google Notebook and so on. And they said the next time they want to know a bit more about agents.
Everyone wants to know about agents.
I played quite a lot with Replit, and I'm just building up a Replit app. I think that's my fourth or fifth Replit app. I'm really blown away by the possibilities which Replit has, and I never have used N8N till now, and I want to use it as well. And you guys mention N8N very often, so it's really time to dive into that stuff as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. N8N is probably so I'm also a AI coach, as you can imagine. That's why
Yeah,
I'm here.
of course.
And an AI consultant. N8N is probably the most asked for agent system
Yeah,
out there right
yeah.
now. Yeah, and so there are other ones. We actually last week went over different agent platforms, but I think that for usability and the different aspects that it adds, it's really good. If you do build something and they try to scale it up, it does cost more money. What I usually suggest to my clients is use Georgetta, use N8N to do proof of concept, right, and to potentially put together your MVP. But then once you want to scale, N8N is really just sort of a front end for a bunch of code. And so once you know that all these pieces work together, which is actually the toughest part, right? Making sure that you have a workflow that actually makes sense and provides value. It's not that big of a deal to translate or transfer that N8N logic into Python code and an API or something like that. But it's a great way to test things out and to really verify that your workflow is going to work and be useful. I love to state the new MIT research that showed that 95% of AI applications or something like that showed no ROI, and 40% of them, part of the problem was it was just easier to go to ChatGPT. And so using something like N8N allows you to iterate faster and try to beat that 95% number as soon as possible.
Okay, that sounds very great.
Yeah.
And do you have experience with Replit as well?
Not as much Replit experience. I'm doing N8N, and then I just build things with Python and create
Okay,
APIs.
I see.
I do it, and really for some of it, it's actually faster for me to. Although you missed on Tuesday, I think you can find the video
The recording.
the video recordings. We did an N8N MCP server.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah, and so it allows you to just create N8N workflows through text, natural language using Claude Desktop, essentially. And it's very easy to set up, and it can definitely save you some time. You're still going to need to know what you're doing, but it can get you your rough drafts up quickly or help you with debugging and things like that.
Oh, that's really looking forward to it. I studied economics, and as a on the side I studied IT. That was in the beginning of 1980. It was.
Oh wow! Yeah,
it was Fortran, COBOL, Pascal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, not a lot of Cobalt or Pascal these days. That's what my dad used to program. Okay. Also, and so we have Kevin White. Kevin White, you seem like you might be new. B, it's tough to tell if you're new, B, because you're just one letter. You might be. Although we get very few people in here with the first name that starts with B.
I'm continuous.
Okay. And then we have Mohan Rao. And if anybody who's new wants to introduce themselves or what they're looking for out of these coaching calls or from us, it really helps us come up with ideas on, B is new to the call. Awesome. If you have something that you're working on or you want to learn throw it out there, Kevin or B, or you don't have to. You just let me just flounder away up here, and or you can just throw something in the chat. Also, I know some people don't like to turn the mic on, or you're like in a meeting or something like that.
Hey Jeff, can you hear me?
Can hear you, B.
Awesome. Hey, yeah, I'm new. I've been following Julian for a while now, but just now jumping into the calls. I am interested in scaling service-based businesses. My twin brother actually is an electrical contractor, so I'm just kind of would like to help him, automate his business and help him in the background all around. So really looking to do some sort of automated content creation, building out a website right now as well. So I'm just kind of diving into a lot of different things at once.
Cool. And then it seems like Kevin's at work and it's noisy. All right, so let me do a quick-ish introduction about me, and then I'll give a preview of what we have coming up tomorrow, if anybody's interested, and then talk about what we did on Tuesday, because I'm still excited about that. And then we will dive into today's N8N workflow. Okay, so my name is Dr. Jeff. That's what they named me at the hospital when I was born. No. So I have my PhD in neuroscience from USC. I did my master's and my PhD in computer vision and AI. Back when nobody cared about computer vision or AI, I always have to preface that every time I tell everyone about it. I was just a nerd. I love neural networks as soon as I saw them. But then at that time, there was no money in this. Nobody would. It is the complete opposite to how it is now, where you could just, people are looking. I think I saw something last year, 25% of all new apps that got funded had AI in them. That was not how it was back in the early to 2000s. So I did marketing and sales, got some practical experience. I really had like a weird sort of career trajectory for a while. Still probably a little bit weird. And a lot of people were like, why do you have a PhD in neuroscience, but you build websites or you do marketing campaigns or you work for influencers, make commercials and music videos and things like that. And it didn't really make sense for a while. But then at a certain point, I did get back into AI and was doing machine learning and computer vision projects initially. And then, as everyone knows, ChatGPT changed the game. There are all kinds of different things that led up to that spot, to that moment. And then, there are, of course, other competitors. But ChatGPT, probably right now, for a certain percentage of the population, is kind of like Jell-O or Band-Aid. When they think of AI, they just think ChatGPT is AI. And so that just shot the popularity up, and then also, popularized the form of AI called generative AI, right? Generative AI is anything that generates something. So this is like ChatGPT, how it generates text or documents for you, image generation, video generation, music generation, voice generation, 11 Labs. Anything that is generating something, up till we had generative AI, which is more recent as far as AI goes. Most AI was more analysis based, where we would analyze numbers, or we would have computer vision where we would analyze an image, but we wouldn't create an image, right? Or NLP, where we were there was a little bit of generative aspect, I guess, to NLP, natural language processing, but more of it was processing that language and translating it on some level. And so generative AI has been transformative for me. All of a sudden, my career paths started to come together, where knowing AI and making commercials and music videos made more sense. Knowing AI and knowing marketing and sales all of a sudden is making a lot more sense. And so now I do a lot of RAG LLM systems, graph RAG systems, image generation, video generation. Those are my favorite. I love image and video generation. And then agentic systems, like the agentic system we're going to learn today. And I think this is going to bring it all together, because we are going to do, this is going to do an AI ads generator, right? Years ago, 5 years ago, is this a lecture on AI? This is going to be a demonstration of an N8N workflow on on ads, AI ad generation. The beginning is just me talking about my AI background, Virgil, which happens for a few minutes. I think I'm supposed to do it every single time. Sometimes I realize I'm boring people, and so I try not to do it too much. Actually, next Friday probably is going to be a lecture on AI. This is a talk that I give often at workshops and for professionals and business owners. It's just a way to demystify AI and give people a really good sort of groundwork for it. Tomorrow we are going to do a lecture, although I hope that there is more back and forth and not just me talking all the time. As you can tell, I hate to talk. Tomorrow, I think I'm almost certain we are going to do a comparison of American versus Chinese models. This is something that was suggested by the community. Yes, welcome from Hamburg, Germany. Welcome. I'll get that wrong. And so, yeah, so tomorrow we're going to look at, these American versus Chinese models, try to, again, demystify those a little bit. And, obviously there is some value in utilizing Chinese models. And it's interesting how much now the time in between the American quote unquote model comes out and then the Chinese version comes out. We just saw this with Nano Banana, right? So Nano Banana is about 2 weeks old ish, and then Sea Dream is 1 week old. So they're cutting that time down about a week. And I wonder at times with these announcements of the new Chinese versions of the models, how timed they are, and like how much of it is sort of a immediate advertising things. I would love just a demo with Nano Banana and Sea Dream. And that may be what we do for the Dr. Jeff special next Tuesday. Because whereas Fridays are typically less practical and more based on like a lecture, then taking 2 weeks now to. Well, no. So I don't think that that's what's happening. I think that maybe it is. I think that potentially maybe they are just doing it in 2 weeks. They're just figuring out how to copy faster. Now that I think about it, on some level, there is an aspect where they are quote unquote copying, but potentially they're also just developing things in parallel. I will tell you just from personal experience, when I was in graduate school, the USC Neuroscience Department was a majority of Chinese national students. Chinese government or Chinese whatever has been educating their population on how to do AI for decades now. So like that would be for sure 2 decades ago. I was in this graduate program, and there were an incredible number of Chinese students there. And so this has been. They've been aware of this for quite some time and have been working on it. So yeah, tomorrow, Chinese versus American models, the lecture. Probably on Tuesday, I'm thinking about testing out a couple of these things, and you might as well do Nano Banana and Sea Dream as long as I gotta take a look. I mean, Nano Banana is not a big deal. Sea Dream, I might need a VPN. I always kind of run into that problem, or not always, but I have run into that before where they're like, you're from the wrong country to use these models. It goes up in AI, and then also if you're familiar with the blockchain, they like to restrict what country you're from for these technologies. I think the Chinese are innovative. Americans would not be in the AI race without Chinese and Indians. Well, yes. I think also like the borders of the world are very fluid, dynamic, and gray. We're in America. The only people who are native here are the Native Americans. We're all from Europe and Asia and Africa and South America anyway. And so we're all working together to make AI great. But there are things that specifically come out of the country of China. I don't see as many models that come straight out of India, though. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe there are, and it's just a blind spot in my understanding. Okay, then just a quick follow-up. On Tuesday, if you missed it, we did N8N MCPs. And so if you're not familiar with MCPs, these are Model Context Protocol, which gives you no real information. Essentially what it does, though, is it was a pretty quick setup You will watch me fumble through it because I had previously already set up the same MCP server on my computer, and then there was a mismatch with doing it, so I had to rip it all out essentially and then set it back up again. But we got it up and going pretty easily. If it's your first time, it'll probably go a little bit smoother for you. But all you have to do is set up Claude Desktop. You change your config file, and then you have to do an install that goes really quick. And then from there, if you connect it to your N8N account with your API key that you get from N8N, then you can just talk to Claude Desktop and have it build N8N workflows for you. It's a fairly easy process. And it's not going to be 100% perfect. As you may have noticed, AI, never 100% perfect, but can help you with getting some rough drafts set up, help you with debugging, potentially get you up and going instantaneously. And I think is very useful. And could, again, potentially save you time. The more you get used to it, the better. I will always stress this, and you'll see this now when we go over this N8N workflow. When you are building workflows, even if you want to build the most complex, amazing AI agentic workflow ever, start small. Start piece by piece by piece. One of the problems with AI and perfect vibe coding and this world of information and help that we now have is we try to bite off more than we can chew, and that gives us indigestion. So even though you can tell Claude Desktop, and it's not, we use Claude Desktop as an example. The good thing about MCP servers is they will connect to any system like that is MCP enabled. It's just that Anthropic is the ones who originally came up with MCP.
I added another.
There we go. Good to see you back, Ian. And so, yeah, today we will do the N8N workflow. But yes, no matter what, with the MCP system that you have now, you could just tell Claude Desktop, hey, build me this incredible workflow, and it'll do it. It's just not the best idea. If there are problems with it, it's tougher to debug, and really very, very, very minor, few, tiny percentage of workflows that are that complex that if you built them right out of the box, if you build them right out of the box, will work well for a variety of different reasons. So it makes more sense to just bite them off into pieces. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Boom. All right, and then so this is a brand new N8N workflow. This is, as you can see, is going to use Photoshop, OpenAI, and Gemini, and it looks like so. Boom, boom. So there's two here. We'll see how far we get with doing these. So a lot of times there's a little bit more information on here about these workflows. I think this one is brand new, and so there isn't as much in here. But you can watch this video to go through it, or you can see me kind of walk us through it right now. Let's do allow this time, and we will take a look. All right, so for those of you who are new to N8N, this is basically your N8N system. As you can see, I've been working on my own marketing campaign workflows recently, but all you need to do is do create workflow. That'll get you up and started, and you're in here, and then all of these N8N workflows are JSON files. So let's start with the first one. We'll go with AI ads generator, and then here you go. Right, this is not that complicated of a workflow. It is a little bit interesting, to say the least. So for every one of the things that is good about this is that you do get this workflow documentation that gets included, right? If you are going to be passing your workflows around to other folks, well, we might go a little bit, looks like some of the pieces are not connected just yet. All right, let's pass that back along to Vic and Julian. Unless I'm missing something, it is surprising that I haven't seen this before, where these are not connected in this type of way. Anyway, all right. So the general concept of this. Okay, no. First, we'll go through credentials, right? Let's see. So we are going to need to have a Google Drive account, an OpenAI account, and an Open Router account, and so this is going to Actually, let's try the other workflow for now really quick. This is, let's go with video workflow. Oh, no, it's already downloaded it. Let me see what that one is like. Let me go back to my overview. So I had checked out that one before, and fascinating. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, maybe let me check one last thing. Am I on the wrong page? All right, well, let's do our best and walk through this. I should have double checked with Vic beforehand on these. This is definitely different than our typical coaching call. Yeah, because usually these are way more connected than these are. This is a little bit more. If this is your first call, just to let you know, we don't typically have this portion where I am wondering why the N8N workflows are not connected to each other. Definitely should have asked a little bit more about this beforehand. This is a little bit wild. Okay, these might be, I think, previous versions of these workflows. I think we'll take a little bit of time to go through these just really quick. Let me go back to the ads generator one just because that was a little bit more setup. And then we might do a little bit more of a Q&A today just because there's not much for me to do with workflows that are not connected. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Okay, well, at least this one has documentation. But boom, boom, is a little bit suspicious, I would say. All right. So this is going to have a trigger, right? Okay. And then this is going to analyze your image, upload the file. Oh, no, so the trigger, upload the file, analyze the image. It's going to give you an image prompt generator. And then this is going to use chat completions to do to create an image and then edit fields, and then it's going to convert it into a file. All right. So let's take a look at some of these notes. We can go over some of the basics here, and then hopefully next week our N8N workflows will be a little bit more set up than this. Okay, so here we have an image analyzer. So this is going to grab an image from here. So you'll be able to upload. So first you need to do your credentials for Google Drive. And then here you'll set your file name for it as well. And for all of these different Google Drive or for OpenAI, you're going to need some form of credentials. And then same thing here, where you do the image analysis. You're going to need to connect your OpenAI account. And then right here, we have our text prompt. You can look through it if you want. So what is this image? Analyze the given image and determine it if it is primary depicts here, takes a product or a character or both. If the image is of a product, return the analysis in the YAML format in the following fields: brand name, name of the brand, and then a bunch of more text information. If the image is a character, return the analysis in YAML format. YAML is just a type of file. It's sort of like JSONs in a way, and they're used a lot of times for config files or things like that. It's just a way to have like a simple file for like structured data, I guess is the best way to say it. And then it's just going to return these YAMLs to be used downstream. And so now we have the YAML. So then this is, even though it's not connected, we have our prompt generator. So the same thing, we're going to use OpenAI here. You have to have your OpenAI account, and then you choose your model here. So with these, and then no, so there's nothing here for that node, which is a little bit tough. And nothing there for that node, also a little tough. So these are these agentic systems, or like these are more, no, this isn't an agentic system. This is more of an agent right here, where this is connected to with the, this is your connection to OpenAI, and then this is your parser. But then here you would have a more complex prompting system than you would have here. And this is to more mimic a bit more of an agent than it would be here, which is just simply a prompt system. And then here we have our HTTP request node. And so these are really, really powerful. You need to have a credential in here. So you have to have your open router credential in here. And this will handle chat completions. These nodes are great because you can basically use them for anything, essentially. N8N comes with a bunch of pre-built and predefined nodes like this one and this one. And these guys, the trigger node, these are all a bunch of pre-built nodes in here. And then these can allow you to connect to anything essentially with API access, right? So if there are platforms or applications that you want to access that don't have an API or don't have a node yet, then you can use these to access them. They're a little bit more complex to use, but then again, you can use our MCP servers and they will set everything up for you. Sometimes you may need to look through the application documents to figure out how to set these up. And then this is a simple one that just basically takes in the information and formats it properly. So this is going to edit your fields for you. And then these are basically which is like binary decision tree nodes, where you have a true false, where if it's true, it goes one way, and if it's false, it goes the other way. And then finally, we have this, it converts the file or an error form. So these are I've talked about this before. If you're setting up this workflow, maybe a little bit more filled out than this is now, I would do a lot of these different steps and then add the error handling at the end. Like make sure you can get everything working. And then I would just take out this node and this node, send everything to here to convert to file, and then boom. So these N8N workflows, I was expecting them to be a little bit more set up than this. This is a little bit interesting. But okay, so today will be a little bit less of an N8N, a little bit of a less of an N8N demo day. And when I looked at the other one, that was, as I said, let's take a look to see if we can get anything out of that one. We'll leave without saving. All right, create another workflow and import from file. So yeah, this guy.
Can I ask you a question about nodes?
Go for it.
So being a noob at N8N,
yeah,
how do you come about with which node you pick? I mean, that seems to be the biggest hurdle to me. Is like, okay, which ones are for what? I mean, I know experience will fix that over time, but as a noob, how do you just start reading through the list and go, let's try that. Now let's try that. I mean, what the heck,
So some of the nodes, right, are specific to a certain platform, right? So it's like, if you want to integrate OpenAI, then, you need an OpenAI node. If you want to integrate Airtable and use Airtable or Google, Sheets or something like that, then that's a choice. Partially, before you get to that is, taking a step back, and this kind of goes into what I've said before about AI gives us the ability to sort of just dive right into these things. And even N8N, right, creates a lower barrier of entry to be able to create agentic systems. Before there was things like N8N, you'd have to code this all up yourself, right? And so I think that when people had to go in and code it themselves, they would take a little bit longer to strategize how they were going to do it. But then now that's like, oh, hey, I could just start throwing nodes around. We just dive right in. So partially it is breaking down what you want to do at each individual step, what you want to integrate. And then there are going to most likely be nodes for that, for a lot of these different systems, right? So it's like, if you want OpenAI, then you need that OpenAI node, right? If you want, again, Google Drive, Airtable, any of these other nodes, if you look and they don't have a node for it, then you need to use the HTTP node, right? That node allows you to essentially, and you could also just, if you wanted to, you could use the HTTP node for everything. You wouldn't actually have to use any of their pre-formatted ones, because it is essentially not for everything, but like if you, for whatever reason, didn't want to use the Google Drive node, or if you didn't want to use the OpenAI node for whatever reason, you could do the same thing with the HTTP node. The nodes that are, that have those naming for like the Airtable node, those are just pre-configured for you, so that they make them easier for you. But in general, you can just do the HTTP node for everything. And then from there, some of the other ones, it does get a little bit more tricky on what to use as far as like formatting nodes. And from there, you do need to have a better sense of like, what is the information that's coming out of these nodes and how do you need to format them for the next node. And that's why sometimes we have these. That's a tough one, is these JSON formatting nodes, or even the one where it's talking about turning everything into a YAML or something like that. That is going to take partially it's like figuring out what is coming out of your node And then from there, again, what is going into the next node? And it's, part of it is, testing it out and seeing what you're getting on the other side, or what's coming out of it, and then understanding what you're going to need. And then maybe that's almost like possibly like a lecture idea for us. How do you figure out the in-between nodes for N8N? That might be a good one. I might pitch that one too, because I think saying, hey, I want an OpenAI node and it's going to connect to my OpenAI credentials and I'm going to write a prompt for it. I think that's probably easier for a lot of us to understand. But then, okay, it created something. Now what? What do I do with that? And then
because sometimes those things you have to do it underneath its toolbar, underneath like an AI node. Unlike the other ones where you just connect it, so there's these nuances too, right? I mean, I was beating my head against the wall because I got Claude telling me, yeah, just connect them. And it's like, no, they're not connecting. It's like, oh, I got to create the HTTP requester off the AI node. And that's how I connect it. I just can't create an HTTP requester node and connect it to it. There's little nuances like that that are maddening. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and again, I think that there is, so somebody brought this up when we were doing the MCP server call on Tuesday, which is, well, what happened, or no, that when you try to have Claude or GPT-5 or one of these help you build an NCP, an N8N, I'm getting my letter things wrong. You will want to have them help you build an N8N workflow. How good is it? And it is essentially terrible. It's the MCP server, I think, is a much better way of doing it. It is, and especially because the good thing about the MCP server is that it will connect directly to it, and it can sit there and run through troubleshooting itself once you set it up. You having to go back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. Is maddening. And for whatever reason, I think that possibly you might be able to prompt it a little bit better by saying, hey, look things up on the internet or something, because I think that its knowledge of N8N is limited for all of them. Whereas if you ask it to do something like in Python or in JavaScript, it can handle it a lot easier. And then
if you use context 7, tell it to go use context 7, you think that would be helpful to, go review the documentation, and here's the documentation on N8N.
So this is another solution, because like in both GPT and Claude, you can create a project, right? And in that project, you can add project knowledge. And so this is another workaround, which is go to a bunch of N8N documentation, download it, right? Or copy and paste it, do whatever you need to do. And then, and then go other places like, not just the N8N documentation page, but other places where they have like a guide to N8N or whatever, and then put that in your project knowledge so that it now has that extra level of knowledge. I just came up with that right now on the spot, but I do use project knowledge in a similar way for other projects. And then really quick, Virgil. So none of these N8N workflows will work right now as I'm demoing. And the reason why is because we need credentials for them all to work, right? I would need to have an OpenAI API credential. I would need to Google, I could connect, but then I also need to have proper file in Google to do it. We are potentially working on that so that we can show live demos. I cannot make that as a promise that that's going to start happening, but this is something that we might try to work in by having API keys available for these demos so that we can see them working. But every single one of these N8N workflows does require authentication, and so I would need to get these credentials to be able to run them. And we have not up until now set up a system for that. I'm not going to say that next week that is going to happen, but if it's the same thing either way. So, if I, no matter what, I will have to, So Nano Banana, that I can demo myself next week, but setting that up right now, I always try to prepare for these calls. At least a little tiny bit. So I'd have to just go and run through Nano Banana in a sort of off the cuff way. It's not the best idea. But next Tuesday, most likely we will do a Nano Banana Sea Dream demo for everybody, when I'm set up and prepared for it. But yes, potentially we will start to have it so that these N8N workflows will be able to be live demo. And if I can get some workflows that actually have nodes in them, I might see if I can just, depending on the workflows, I might go through and choose some that where I already have the credentials set up and the templates where I can demo. I also agree. I think it might be a little bit better for everyone to see the demos flow all the way through, but it does take a little extra setup to get that to go. Any other? Let's go with Q&A for the last 20 minutes because my workflows. This is the first time I've gotten skeleton workflows for one of these demos. We've gotten them that were early releases like this before, but they had always been filled out. I think that maybe there was a mistake in the file upload, which I will let them know. Where were these workflows you tried to do in AI Profit Broker? So let's see. These are in social media templates. So everything is in N8N templates and workflows in the classrooms. So then these were under the social media templates one, and that is where you find them. So you can always like go through here and look through all these different templates. And then again, like with these as a basis, another usage case is just grab these templates to begin with and then use the MCP server to adjust them for you, or break them down into their component parts and start to work with them in components. How about Julian's? How about it? So that's the YouTube video. You can watch the YouTube video for this, but to actually be able to use the workflow, we need to get these JSON files to be working. Any other questions out there for Q&A day? So that our Q&A quarter hour, I guess. Anybody new want to talk about what they've been working on lately, or anybody not so new want to talk about what they're working on lately? Boom, boom. Have you ever linked a meta form to N8N? What kind of meta form? You can, but the answer is probably no. For me, probably, since I had to ask, what do you mean by it?
Sorry, mate. It was I've got a customer that uses a meta form to pull leads from his ads. It gives the customer name and phone number, but then he wants me to run something. So when he's in bed or they're asleep or they're out at working hours, it will pull the data through. Someone said you can get a Facebook trigger in N8N, pull it that way. I was thinking, well, could it go into the Google Sheets and do it that way? Yeah, but someone's already explained a bit of this to me. One of the guys in one of the other ad groups that they do, but I'm just trying to figure it out, and then I'm going to put up a play with it.
So you're going to use the meta form to trigger your N8N workflow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I have not done that myself, but I mean, as long as you can, is there a node to connect it yet, or would you need to set that up yourself? Probably not, right? Yeah, so you probably need to have it, but there's definitely a way of doing it for sure.
Vic came back to me. Is it Vic Munchukski?
I know it's Vic.
Well, he come back to me with something, so I'm going to try that, see what he says. But it's just like all these things. It'd be nice if, when we get some of these things going, push them back to you, so then anything that works or we figure something out, you can use in the calls and stuff. It helps you out as well.
Yeah, no, sounds great. Yeah. And then Mike, you said here is the school link. Let's see. Take a look at Mike's N8N workflow. Oh, okay.
I didn't. Somebody just posted that.
Oh.
That's not the one I was talking about. You talking about my comment about the one that Vic was looking at?
There's two different mics. That is tough.
Yeah, how about that?
Oh, wow. I mean, there being two different mics in the entire world, that is crazy. Okay, so you have an N8N workflow that you've posted. Here's yours. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if this will actually let me see it. Oh, okay. And so this is an image generation workflow.
Yep.
And then tell me about your image generation workflow.
Yeah, so the intention here, and I took this from another guy who's an AI guru, but you drop in an ad on the form submission, and then the workflow analyzes it, and then you can tell it however many outputs you want to do, but it will analyze it and then recreate it for your brand, product, color palette, all that kind of stuff. And then, like, if you want to, you could spit out 300 versions of it. I'm just trying to test it to make one. The one thing I'm stuck on that I wasn't getting a clear answer, and I understand Vic's got a lot of different people to look at, but somewhere in this flow, it is supposed to be like, I can't figure out where in the flow it moves from analyzing the competitor ad to then, like, where do I tell it what my brand is or what my product is, and how do I get that to then drop into the new version? And that's what I can't figure out here.
So it's definitely, I mean, like the analysis is happening in the vision node for sure. And then from there, you are formatting it, and then the expand to end variants. And then it is here. Sorry, that was my Google Voice. Let me take a look at download. Just open this up a little bit. And
you grab my JSON file there.
Hey, can we share the screen on that?
yeah, hold on, I'm getting there. All right, actually made a mess here. Let me go to overview. All right, and then let's do a screen share. Okay, and here we go. All right, on forms host image. Boom, boom, boom. Image kit. So that's that. Vision. Analyze given image. Return only a compact JSON object. No markdown code. Use this exact brand name. Vision. Visible in packaging. Range for product string. Character. Add copy. Text watermark activity. Palette. Okay, so it is doing okay, one thing I wanted to just point out as we're going through this, because I don't know how much of this I'm going to solve. So like this is a good prompting strategy right here. So if you see like how specific it is, like it's telling it, only return a JSON object. Sometimes I've seen this where they do two separate nodes, where you have one that just gets all this information and the next one will convert it into a JSON object. But then this way, you know that you're getting a certain format on the other side. And this kind of can speak to what we were discussing before, right? About those in-between nodes for formatting. Part of it is tell it, hey, I want a JSON object. And then the next part is expecting the JSON object, right? So this is pulling out specific information about the actual ad, and pulling out brand name, products, characters. And then again, it's giving it very, very specific information on what it wants, palette, font style, and a summary. Okay, so then now you're getting that JSON, boom. And then, so this is making sure to format it, palette, primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, and so this is doing more formatting on the JSON, okay.
That where it's where we would input our brand?
I don't think so. Somewhere either. So I'll say it's going to be in these nodes here somewhere. Let's see if we can find it. No, because that's just connected to GPT. Think as it's just telling it to think. That's just the chat model. And then what is the agent doing?
Mike, did you make this just from a drawing, or did you get the JSON or the details from the guy?
He made the entire JSON file available for download, so I just took it, and the only work that I had done on it, well, for one, I tried to read through it to understand, as I'm definitely newer, and I do my best learning by doing, and so it's like just kind of jump in. And so I went through all the nodes to really try to understand what was happening. This is the one part where I was lacking, is what I was explaining to Dr. Jeff here. And then I went through and connected all the different nodes to my own accounts, to my own APIs with ChatGPT and Google, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. So it's getting the host image, but then at some point in time, it needs an input for where would you even input something, right? Like if this is where your host image comes in.
That's why I'm so confused.
Do you run it to see what happens? Just like this?
And something, let me run it on my machine. It outputs, actually I have a screenshot of the output. There's even it's not converting because there are errors, it's not generating an image, which then tells me that there's not the error is that the output is not a binary file, so it can't upload. So therefore it has nothing to upload to my Google Drive at the end of the day.
All right.
So that's where I realized I don't have, there's stuff missing, right?
There's gotta be, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really seems like there should be. Let me check one more thing. Sorry, here, I'll share screen again. It's tough, and one of the things, and at the very least, you could see that from the rough drafts we got, there should be documentation in here to make it easier to figure this out. And one of the things you could do is And here, let's give this a try really quick. Now, Claude is terrible at making these, but can it, let's do a quick little test right now. Can it understand this? Analyze this N8N workflow and describe what it does. And also, this is a good, like, if you are supposed to, you should be documenting your workflows. This is a good way to do an easy documentation. Is just hand it in and then ask it to do the documentation. Again, it's going to be crap at building you a working one, but if you have one that already exists, it is much better at analyzing and giving you an overview. So a request description. So this might be in the user form that gets submitted. Vision integrates product image to extract brand name and product details. Product font style from packaging and visual. Create multiple variations based on the requested count. Each variant has different camera angles, lighting styles, unique headlines inspired by period. So this one, so I think that it just makes different versions for the same brand. I don't think that it, at least based on this, and this actually makes more sense on what's going on, is that it's just creating, and that's why, like, yeah, if you look at expand to end variants and things like that, it is pulling out all of the information on this image, and then it is creating variants of it, and then it's just making new versions with that same variant or with the different variants.
Okay,
at least
yeah,
that makes the most intuitive, logical sense from looking at it. And then Claude is agreeing that seems like what's going on there. Let me just ask it one more question about the request description. I just want to see if there's anything in that. Tell me more about this. Unless right there you can change things and you can have something in the request description. That is the only way I can see this. Looking at the form request field appears to be a text. Okay, yeah. So maybe there was supposed to be something in there where you could put in something in the request field to change it. But even that, there's not enough. Really, if you were to do this for your own brand, this is like something about, like, you'd want to put in your own logo or your own product image or something like that. Like, there'd have to be a way for you to do more than just say, hey, do this for XYZ brand. Like, that's not going to really give you what you want. This really seems to be take one of your images and create variants on it.
Yep.
Or great.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
All right, I will try that then.
Any other questions or ideas for our last 5 minutes? Sorry, today was a little bit awkward of a call. That happens. Technical difficulties to today, but maybe we'll do next week. Hopefully, we might do a supercharged N8N workflow day, or maybe Vic is taking over for Thursday. We'll see how it goes. Got a few minutes left. If anybody wants to throw anything out there, otherwise, I'll give everyone a few minutes back at the end of the hour. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.